The first time I realized something was terribly wrong wasn't when the divorce papers arrived. It was when I saw my official seal pressed onto a stack of unfamiliar documents next to my husband's name, a string of addresses and dates that meant nothing to me. My signature, staring back at me, written without my hand. In that moment, I heard the words, "Late life divorce," slicing through my mind, loud and cold. Underneath, another word caught my breath. Redevelopment rights. But back then, I still had no idea just how far my husband was willing to go. I did not yet know he had already begun to erase me, piece by piece, behind a mask of paperwork and trust. I'm 62 years old as I tell this story. Nearly my entire life has revolved around one man, Young-soo. We married in my early 30s. I remember counting the years by the seasons in our small grocery store, the smell of rice sacks and oil from the factory where I picked up extra shifts mixing in my lungs. Young-soo tried again and again to make a business succeed. I, meanwhile, raised 2 children and took care of my mother-in-law, Sunja, pouring all my energy into scraping together a life. Our neighborhood was a patchwork of old homes nestled on a hillside, walls layered thick with generations of wallpaper and secrets. Everyone whispered about redevelopment, about new apartments and the promise, or peril, of compensation and rights. Every day felt like waiting for a kettle to boil over. I was never good at hiding my feelings on my face, but I was very good at hiding emergency savings. That was something my own mother taught me. How to tuck away what little you could, bit by bit, for the future. For every leftover bill from buying groceries, for every late-night bonus from my part-time work hanging wallpaper, I'd stash it away. Someday, I told myself, I'd live the kind of life where all I'd have to do was press one button in an apartment elevator to reach home. That was my quiet dream, small, steady, and secret. Young-soo threw himself into the neighborhood redevelopment effort the moment rumors began. He was everywhere, collecting consent forms, attending meetings, showing neighbors what boxes to check, what signatures to write. At first I felt gratitude for his drive. But then, little by little, I noticed odd things. Receipts from stamp shops in Young-soo's bag. Documents with my signature, looking more perfect than when I actually wrote it. It unsettled me, but I shrugged it off, thinking maybe I'd just forgotten. Tension grew quietly at first. Our son Min-jae was planning a wedding. Our daughter Sujin just got a job in another city. Young-soo gathered the kids frequently, always in low voices, always while I found myself in the kitchen cleaning up. When I'd check, new paperwork would sit waiting on the table, authorizations, permissions, all stamped in my name. I started counting my seals, checking and rechecking whether I'd really put them back. I could not shake the feeling that something of myself was being taken without my knowledge. At the same time, Sunja, my mother-in-law, became ill. Her knees swelled and she couldn't sleep at night, so I would massage her legs and listen to her frightened breaths. Young-soo sat with her only briefly, always stepping out for calls. The children would come to me, quietly insistent about the importance of caring for their grandmother. The words filial duty hung heavy in my mind, but I kept them to myself. I knew if I spoke, a sandstorm of resentment would fill every corner of the house. After that, small warning signs piled up. Letters from the Redevelopment Association started coming addressed not to Young-soo, but to someone named Young-sam, a name that was unfamiliar, but the handwriting was unmistakably his. In Young-Soo's bag, I found an old ID issued before our marriage, listing a different address altogether. Every time I put another unexplained paper away in my drawer, the ache in my chest grew sharper. What was he hiding? My lips could not shape the question. I was afraid what might break if I let it out. Instead, I turned to city offices, requesting every document I could legally get. Marital status certificates, family registers, residency records. I checked and checked again. Did my name line up with my husband's? Did our history match? If a life is built on paper, I realized, it must be possible to rob a life with paper too. Not long after, a neighbor, Jong-hee, stopped me with unexpected news. A grandmother upstairs had heard at the association office that someone submitted 2 different sets of documents from a single household. Same apartment, identical unit, 2 different names. As I tried to laugh it off, inside, my hands turned to ice. Only in our house was such a thing possible. That night, I pulled out my envelope of secret savings, counting old bills one by one, stopping halfway through. All this time, I thought I was protecting money, but in truth, I was trying to protect my sense of safety. When I discovered an old notebook in Young-Soo's drawer, I felt my heart stop. Its pages, yellowed and curled, listed real estate, offices, stamp vendors, and, worse, several names. Young-Sum, Young-Soo, Young-Mo. Slight differences, all pointing to the same hand. Worse still, beside my name there was a date of birth I didn't recognize. The implication was chilling. Someone was rewriting even my very identity, setting in motion the erasure of me from my own life. From then on, I felt my life no longer belonged to me. My name paired with unknown dates, my seal printed onto papers I never touched, my existence cut and pasted between files in someone's desktop. On a rainy morning, I braced myself, took part of my secret savings, and walked to City Hall. I waited, number in hand, heart pounding as my turn came. I requested the most recent marital certificate. When the forms arrived, I stood by the window and read every line again and again, trying to make sense of the tangle my life had become. There it was, at the bottom of the page, a processed divorce months earlier with my husband's name as the partner and a separation date I'd never seen. The signature beside my name, the stamp pressed there, looked heartbreakingly familiar. But all wrong. My own seal. Perfect. But I remembered exactly where it was kept, deep in a wooden chest, under old blankets. So whose was this? If Young-Soo had somehow copied my seal for his own plans, it meant my entire life could be hijacked with a scanned image and a stolen name. I drifted through long city hall corridors, rain weeping outside the windows. It was as if a dam had broken inside me. I knew now what I had lost, not just money or a legal right, but the meaning of my own name. I needed to act. The house became more strained. Young-Soo started coming home late. Min-jae, my son, barely met my eyes. Sujin's calls grew short and brief. Soonja clung to me, telling old stories. I kept opening and closing official documents, letting the sharp corners bite at my fingers to remind myself what was real. This life I'd built, quietly looted from beneath me, was now a battlefield. I could remain silent no longer. Every envelope, every bank book, is every carefully stashed bill. Suddenly, all my secret savings had a purpose. I gathered everything I'd hidden and, with shaking hands, stepped inside a lawyer's office. We lined up all the evidence. The old ID card in another name, association, mail addressed to Young-Sum, stamp shop receipts, the marital certificate with the blue separation date. I could see the question in everyone's eyes. Why make trouble at your age? But in my heart, I answered every day, because at this age, I have a right to reclaim my own name. It was then that the twist, sharper than any suspicion, landed. The lawyer found that Young-soo had forged my seal, not just once, but repeatedly, and on crucial documents. It wasn't simply borrowing my name. It was a systematic theft of my life. Young-soo split our legal status, creating a duplicate household, intent on securing twice the redevelopment compensation, one under our real names, another as a supposedly separate entity. He withdrew my savings as proof of funds for a fake application. He orchestrated, with astonishing calculation, my erasure from both the house and our shared history. I reeled from the blow but refused to let it flatten me. I collected more evidence, a realtor's offhand memo, traces of original documents in the copy machine, detailed date stamps from every public notice. I wrote down everything, day by day, and started pushing back at every meeting. Step by step, I reclaimed my ground. The neighborhood changed. Redevelopment fences rose, and soon each corner of the area buzzed with anticipation and dread. As I dusted old window sills, I found stones from when my children were little, remnants of sand piles, once shaped by their small hands. I clung to these pieces of memory, each one more valuable than a compensation check or apartment key. As the investigation deepened, what I'd feared became undeniable. The forged divorce papers, the duplicate identities, the attempt to seize a double share of the rights, all of it finally came into the open. Young-soo was my husband one day, but by the next, he had become a stranger who stole my name. My secret savings were never just a balance in a passbook, but my shield. Proof that I had drawn boundaries between my soul and the ambitions of others. I grew firmer. With my lawyer, I filed counterclaims with the city, the association, the police. It was a backbreaking march of paperwork, evidence and bureaucracy, but I could not falter now. At each low point, leaning against the hospital white walls of government offices, I pictured Soonja's tired face, my children's uncertain gazes. Who would they see, left standing when all this was over? A few tense weeks later, the truth was formally revealed. The forged divorce was nullified. Our marriage, on paper, still held. The illegally created duplicate household was voided, and Young-soo was held accountable for his actions. The compensation share was restored. I gathered my secret savings once more, placing it back in its envelope. Not just a cache of money, but now a small monument to my survival and, yes, my loneliness. Now I am packing away the last winter in our old house. Soonja will move to a senior residence. I have promised myself to visit each week. My children and I are speaking again, slowly, as if relearning the meaning of family. In this space, I make another promise. If anyone ever tries to rewrite my life for me, I will take the pen from their hand. The neighborhood will vanish in brick and dust, but I will not vanish. I won't lend the weight of my name for someone else's convenience ever again. Now I know, family can be a house of love or a prison of paperwork. Forced devotion kills true care, and an official seal can rob someone's whole life. Secret savings are not shameful. They are an honor. In the end, I fought less for my money and more for the right to my own story. If you listened this far, I ask you, if you found yourself caught between love and a page of paper, which one would you hold on to first?